Now let's do a bit of time travel and go back 83 years. Back to 1931, when Chryslers, Fords and Rolls-Royce cars used to dot the streets of Calcutta.
In many ways, it was the same Calcutta as we know today. The same riverbank, the same edifices, but the people were different. Netaji was around and the air was heavy with the vibes of nationalism. The common people flocked to the streets to get a glimpse of the iconic leaders. They also crowded to the football fields and in front of movie halls. Life was simpler and things were cheaper. A lot could be bought with an anna, including a movie ticket.
There were at least 25 movie halls in Calcutta in 1931. Some of these movie halls are still existent, whereas the others have vanished completely from the landscape of Kolkata.
There was Madden Film Company, which was instrumental in bringing in Hollywood movies across, and they were distributing it across India. Secondly, and that's important in the context of Bengali cinema, which is that they were adapting Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay's novels into films. So there were many players.
একদিন বাড়ির আঙিনায় আসতো ভালুক না চলা, আসতো সাপুরে সাপ খেলা দেখাতে। একদিন আসতো ভোজবাজিওয়ালা, দিত একটু নতুনের আমেজ। আমাদের চিতপুর রোডে আজ আর ওদের ডুগডুগি বাজে না। সিনেমাকে দূর থেকে সেলাম করে ওরা দেশ ছেড়ে পালিয়েছে। These are the words from Rabindranath Tagore's জীবন স্মৃতি. Cinema had found a firm foothold in the city. It had entered the daily lives of Calcuttans.
In Madden theatres, they were treated to silent comedies like Jamai Babu or even adaptations of novels like Durgesh Nandini and Bish Brikho. And in Globe Theatre, they were treated to Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford, and of course Charlie Chaplin.
Something spectacular happened in the meantime.
All living, breathing 100% talking peak drama, essence of romance, brains and talents unheard of under one banner, announced the advertisements. The film was Alam Ara, Ornament of the World. It was released in Majestic Cinema in Bombay on 14th of March 1931. And the director was Ardeshir Irani.
दे दे खुदा के नाम पे प्यारे, ताकत है अगर देने की, दे दे कुछ चाहे अगर तो मांग ले मुझे से, चाहे अगर तो मांग ले मुझे से, हिम्मत है अगर लेने की, दे दे. This song, दे दे खुदा के नाम पर, was sung by Wazir Ahmed Khan to only the accompaniment of tabla and harmonium.
Other talkies followed close at heels. Billo Mongol, Indra Sabha with 71 songs and many more.
The stories, however, were the same old love stories, same romance, same melodrama, high-pitched, predictable and sometimes slapstick comedy.
সিনেমা, চলচ্চিত্র, ছায়াছবি, মুভিং ইমেজেস যাই বলুন না কেন, তার কোনো সাংস্কৃতিক আভিজাত্য ছিল না। অর্থাৎ গল্প, উপন্যাস, কবিতা, নাটক এই জিনিসগুলোর যে গুরুত্ব ছিল বাঙালি সমাজে, চলচ্চিত্র তখনও সেই গুরুত্বই পায়নি। চলচ্চিত্র বড়জোর একটা ক্ষণিকের আমোদ এবং একটা অবসর বিনোদন।
Well, let me now read out a lamentful passage by Niranjan Pal in the year 1931. That time is fast approaching, and let me utter a warning. Unless we make up, foreign companies will open up studios in our midst and begin to manufacture Indian film on a large scale for our people. Apparently, Niranjan Pal had not heard of a young civil engineer who was bitten by the film bug soon after he returned from England after completing his higher studies.
It was the end of the cylinder, I think around 1929 he funded a film.
যেহেতু ওনার বাবা মানে ঠিক এই মানে উনি চাননি মানে এই ফিল্ম লাইনটা, তো উনি ঠিক করলেন ফোর ফ্রন্টে মিস্টার PN রয় আর আপনার অমর মল্লিক এই দুজনকে রেখে মানে উনি ব্যাকফুটে চলে গেলেন আর কি।
But his name was not mentioned, of course. The film flopped, and then but his interest grew.
শুটিং যখন চলছে তখন কাগজে জিনিসটা বেরোয় এবং কাগজে ওনার নামটা দেয়া হয় আর কি, মানে আমার দাদুর। তো সেই কাগজটা কোনোভাবে NN সরকারের হাতে আসে এবং NN সরকার সেইটাকে দেখে একটা রেড কালি দিয়ে ওটাকে মানে আন্ডারলাইন করে দেন।
Sir N.N. Sircar, the Advocate General of undivided Bengal, was one of those who looked down upon cinema as a low-brow medium. Like many others of his generation, he firmly believed that going to movies was an utter waste of time. But Sir N.N. Sircar's son, Birendranath Sircar, was soon to change that perception.
যখন আমাদের সিনেমার শৃঙ্খলা গড়ে ওঠেনি, স্টুডিও ব্যবস্থার মধ্যে এই শৃঙ্খলা আনার জন্য প্রায় BN সরকারকে একজন ইতিহাস পুরুষ বলা যায়।
The motto of this company was Jivatang Jyotiretu Chayam, that is, light infusing shadows with life.
ফিরে চলো আপন ঘরে, ফিরে চলো, ফিরে চলো, ফিরে চলো।
This is where Mukul Bose recorded the sounds of Chandidas, Rajrani Meera, Dhoop Chhau, and so many other cult films.
আনন্দ
Nitin Bose did the cinematography for Punarjanma and Polli Somaj, Chandidas and Meerabai. Pankaj Mallik and Raichand Boral composed music for Maya and Grihodaho. This is where Pramotesh Barua worked to become the first mega star of Indian screen. And Kundan Lal Sehgal, a salesman from Solan, was reborn as a matinee idol.
Both were kind of full-fledged production system, complete with studio floors, post-production facilities, as well as labs. So, once a film was conceived, the entire production system was completed within the compounds of the NT studios, like it was done in the Hollywood studios. All the actors and technicians who used to work for NT films had to be on the payroll, and they were not allowed to work outside for outside studios. That was a very strict condition.
People who worked with him, and whenever they talked about BN Sircar, about May theatres, there was one comment that everybody made, and that was like a family.
In 1935 came the high point in New Theatre's career, the making of Devdas. Pramotesh Barua had just returned from Europe with the experience of observing a film production in the West.
He was itching to do something path-breaking, and B.N. Sircar gave him the platform. The result was a runaway success, Devdas, the first in the series of more than a dozen adaptations of the novel by Sharat Chandra Chattopadhyay.
Promethesh Chandra Barua, actually, when you see his writings, he has a cinematic imagination as opposed to the literary. So I particularly feel that it's a leap in the ways in which even B.N. Sircar had imagined probably. He is not simply adapting the plot. He is, at the time in 1935, giving Indian cinema certain visual language. I particularly write about two things: the use of the train, especially, and the use of the figure of the Baiji as a representative of the courtesan, as a representative of the city.
The resounding success of Devdas prompted B.N. Sircar to do a Hindi version of the film. Promethesh Barua could not speak Hindi. The search began for an actor for the lead role. B.N. Sircar had a hawk's eye for scouting talent. He had spotted a shy, diffident salesman from Solan who hummed ghazals and dadras on his harmonium when not promoting the sales of the Remington typewriters. His name was Kundan Lal Sehgal. He had already been tried out in a couple of new theatre films. Sircar offered him the lead role of Devdas. The rest is history. Immense popularity of films like Devdas and Chondidash ushered in another phenomenon in Bengal, the era of stars.
আজকে যে সুপারস্টারদের দেখছি, এই সুপারস্টারদের তৈরি করা প্রমথেশ বড়ুয়ার গুরু পাঞ্জাবি, কানন দেবীর টিম, এই সমস্ত কিছু তৈরি করা,
letters to the editors, photographs which the stars, which of the stars which the fans could take and maybe pin it up and things like that. So Sehgal's popularity was across India. Sehgal was phenomenal.
What Griffith did for the American cinema in the first 2 decades of the 20th century, B.N. Sircar did the same for Bengali cinema in 1930s, 40s and 50s.
First, it became a bearer of the Bhadralok ideology, that really there could be something like a Bhadralok cinema, and secondly giving it a definition.
That what was our loss was Bombay's gain.
আজকে যদি B.N. সরকারের প্রতি কৃতজ্ঞতা জানাতে হয়, তাহলে বাংলা ছবি গল্পের জন্য যে এত খ্যাত, সেই খ্যাতির মূল উৎস B.N. সরকার এবং তার হাতি মার্কা নিউ থিয়েটার্স। ওই হাতির ব্রিং হর্ন শুনে একসময় সারা ভারতবর্ষ বুঝতো ভালো ছবি।
গালা